That's my name? No, right? I don't have to say I'm Kyle Mylan. I'm Kyle Mylan, and you need to watch my LinkedIn Lives because you're going to learn some shit, and sometimes I'm funny. Damn. Don't do what I say, just watch what I do and duplicate it. I haven't spent 22 years in manufacturing to not know what I'm talking about. You need to watch my content.
Kristen, Kyle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. Come on.
Just wrapping up our trip, 3 days. And the big takeaway here is I never travel any place just to see one person. So when you sales guys are out there traveling, you need to then try and find 1 or 2 or 3 other people to see.
The commodity manager of Electrolux wanted me to text her. That was her preferred method of contact. She was getting 200 emails a day. She said, just text me. This was 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. Literally could get her every time.
What's up, guys? Kyle Mylan here with Manufacturing Tribe TV. Today we're at MD&M Minneapolis show.
You're always going to remember that person that was different than everybody else. So it's taught standing out and being unique.
We're back with another episode. We've increased some of our production value, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Brett's got a question. How segmented do you make the emails every 2 to 4 weeks? Are you sending to the broad group of contacts or do you customize? I think that you could do it both ways, but I think in general, everybody needs to see your content. Everybody needs to see something that you're creating and something that you can provide value to.
You can tell a story a whole lot faster in a 3-minute video than you can in a 14-page article or 10 2-page articles.
Everything's about brand awareness and content right now, and it will continue to be that. So focus on producing some sort of content, and if you're selling B2B, which I'm assuming most people here are, focus on LinkedIn.
Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free. Send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, and also engage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. Those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn.
What is up, guys? It is Kyle Mylan, and you have not seen me in 2 weeks if you're following the show. As always, we go live on Mondays. Mondays is about Q&A, questions that were sent in to askkyle@mfgtribe.com. Or, we good, Nick? All right, we're good. Or you leave comments in the comment section of videos or on live sessions, things like that, if you don't want to email over. We answer them on today's show, as well as answer any live questions. And then Wednesday's show is a topic, and I can't wait for the topic. This week on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about sales and how to build trust, which we were supposed to shoot 2 weeks ago, ran into some issues. Lots happened in the last 2 weeks with the office. You can see the background is now a darker color. We're going to be doing some more things. We've painted, the floors are done, office is coming together. It's just a lot because we went from a small office to now an extremely large office. So a lot had to get done to get us up to snuff. But as always, guys, if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, go to it. There's over 250. There's probably closer towards 300 videos right now that are up there. All of the content's on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, all that stuff. And then also go, if you like podcasts, go to the podcast, Technical Sales and Marketing with me, and you can just listen to all this stuff while you're driving or while you are mowing your grass. So without further ado, you've got questions and I'm here to answer them. What do we got, Laura?
So I actually have 4 questions for us today that I pulled from YouTube. Some of them are people asking for your opinions on their job offers, and then
Sweet. That's good.
I've also got some social media posting advice.
Social media. All right. So jobs and social media.
All right. So if you're ready, I got the first question.
Let's roll. Let's do it.
Okay. I just graduated with an engineering technology degree. Do you think a counter sales associate position is a good place to start my career?
A counter sales associate position. I don't even know what that means. I probably have to Google it, but I'm assuming it means that you're at a counter. I feel like any sales experience is good sales experience, but If you buy counter sales, you're talking about like at a Verizon Wireless counter or AT&T counter or something like that. I would say you're probably better off going into an industrial manufacturing, whatever industry you're trying to get into, and try and go as a engineer, project engineer, sales support engineer, something like that would be better, because then you've got on-the-job experience within your industry. Now, if this counter sales position is within your industry, then yes, absolutely. I think that that is a good fit and a good place to start. But that's really what it comes down to. If you can get a job in the industry that you would like to go into, whether it's you're like, I want to get into plastics or metals or robotics or systems integration or SaaS or anything like that, if you can get experience in that industry, the potential future employer will look at it and be like, yeah, he doesn't have a ton, or she doesn't have a ton of sales experience, but they've been in our industry for like 3 years as a project engineer, so they understand how everything works, so they get the technical side, and then we just have to help and teach them the sales side, or maybe they teach it on their own by going to courses like technicalsalesu.com, where TSU has over 8 hours of video content that I shot, and they get their certification that way. So I think it depends. I would focus less about the job and more about the industry, and then try and find ideally a sales job in the industry that you want to work in. That's the best case scenario. So yeah, a little bit more information about the specific sales position would have helped, but I'd say go after that. Sales job in the industry you want to work in. If you can't get a sales job, get a sales support job in that same industry. If you can't do either of those, then yes, sales experience in a related, relative B2B. Don't go B2C unless the industry you want to go into is B2C. But if you want to get into B2B, work at a B2B company and sell it that way. Or send your resume over and maybe we'll hire you to sell for us, and you get both ends of the spectrum. Learn sales and learn marketing at the same time.
All right.
All right.
I'll be sure to link this video to that person's YouTube comment so they can hear all that.
There you go.
All right, I got question number 2 for you. Should my social media posts be more educational or emotional?
All right. I think it depends. So number one, it depends on what platform you're posting on and what your end goal is. So if you are trying to bring emotion out of the person because that's what you're selling and that's what you're trying to go after, then I think that you can do that. But in the context of what my content's about in this channel, I'm assuming that you're in the industrial related field. Maybe Laura, if you want to double check what video that was posted on, make sure it was something technical. So I think ideally what you want to do is, I always look at it as, is it educational and entertaining? If you can hit both of those things at the same time with a post, with a video, whatever it is, that's the ideal scenario, because you're going to educate somebody and you can also entertain them while you're doing it. It's not going to be a basic, simple, like boring thing. So if it's educational, people aren't going to listen to it, read it if it is boring. So you want to try and hit both of those things at the same time. And I would say, honestly, just test it out. Like post maybe for 2 weeks straight, just post educational stuff. And then for another 2 weeks straight post stuff that's educational and entertaining. And then just look at the results. Look at how much engagement you're getting. Look how much comments and reach you're getting with that post. But I would say do an A/B test, or do a test multiple ways of trying out different things. But the end goal should always be, all right, I want to educate these people while entertaining them. Now, entertaining is a subjective term, right? What I may think is entertaining, you may not think is entertaining. I feel like these videos that we do and these lives that we do are educational and they're somewhat entertaining. Can we make them more entertaining? Yes, we can, which we're in the process of doing. But it's got to hit one of those two things. Emotional, I don't know. I try not to play with the emotional side unless I'm trying to sell them something like a consumer product or something like that. Then you can tie emotions into it. People will say that everything in sales is based on emotion. People make emotion decisions when it comes to sales, but it depends on what you're selling. Like cars and things like that can pull out the emotion of somebody. Yes, emotions come into play. On the B2B side, in industrial and in tech, then it could be the emotion of, I'm so frustrated dealing with this supplier, and then you come and you pull on that emotional string and get them to trust you, which you have to have. But I would say, don't intentionally go into it being like, I want to target that person's emotion. I would say educate and entertain is the way to go.
Okay, so I did go back to the YouTube channel, and the person who left this question, their name is Bilal. They are new to industrial sales.
Okay.
So you probably are giving them some valuable information.
Well, thanks, Laura. I appreciate that.
And he also asked if you suggest, are there any times of day that I should make social media posts to perform better?
Yeah, so in general, the times of day, like the platforms will tell you whether it's Buffer, Hootsuite, or all the platforms where you can schedule social posts. Like usually you could do them for free for like a trial basis. They'll tell you the times in the day. That's what we do through our platform. So, but in general, I would say if you're going after LinkedIn traffic, generally speaking, LinkedIn is good in the morning, in the early morning, so like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Time frame around lunchtime, and then the evening time where people are getting off of work. Those are typically, as a general blanket statement, those are the most popular general times. But if you're using a social scheduling platform like Hootsuite, Buffer, things like that, then they'll tell you like 10:52 a.m. on a Thursday has proven that that's the number one time based on social engagement. And if you can't do 10:52, then you want to pick 11:45 or 1:53. They'll tell you those times, but I would say in general, a 2-hour window around lunch is always good. But then again, you just have to test it out and see what works and then change it up from there.
Okay, the last question for today. I have a couple of acronyms. I don't know the definition. I hope you do.
I'm not the best with acronyms. It all depends.
I have an initial verbal offer of $120,000 base and an OTE of $160,000 with RSUs. Is this a good offer?
You have 120K base and an OTE of what? 160?
160,000
And then what was the last part?
with RSUs.
I don't even know what that means. RSU. Yeah, I don't know. I would say 120K base as a technical sales position is very good. Depends on your experience though. If you're like, do they say that they're new to sales?
They said
This is why you guys love the live show. You get this interaction between us.
an initial verbal offer of $120,000 base, an OTE of $160,000 with RSUs, which an RSU is a restricted stock unit.
I don't know if that's the right acronym to it.
Well,
An RSU of what?
$160,000.
I thought that was an OTE. OTE of 160 and the RSU of what?
Maybe this isn't the best question today.
No, that's totally fine. All right, so we'll take it and we'll say, all right, it's 120K base. You got 160K of OSE. So I think that 120K base for a technical salesperson is very good, especially as a starting point. If you've got 3 to 5 years experience, you should be in that 120K range. If you're new to technical sales, then you would be looking at more like the 75 to maybe 95 range. Regardless of the base, first of all, if you have a verbal offer, it's not an offer because that's just verbal. So it has to be in writing. So I would say number one, get it in writing because you can't accept anything that's verbal. So yes, that's a good starting point. Even if you have 5 to 10 years of experience, a 120K base is a good starting point as long as the commission can reach the goal that you want. So if you're in technical sales and you're like, what's your ultimate goal with where you want to go to in your career? How much money do you want to make? And you're like, I just want to make 200 grand a year. Then you have to look at the commission structure with the base, regardless of all the other perks of benefits and 401K and all that other stuff. Just look at commission plus base plus monthly allowance for your car on top of it and all those things. Does it get me? Is there potential to get me to where I want to go? And if your goal is 200, then most likely they should have a decent commission plan to get you there at a 120K base. But if you're hungry and you're out for blood and looking to dominate the space, then you need to be able to look at it and say, hey, I want to make $400,000 a year as a technical salesperson, sales engineer, business development manager, business development rep, whatever the title is. I want to make $400,000 a year. Then a 120K base, 140, 160 is probably a good starting point. As long as your commission side, you can make $200,000, $300,000, which that's not unheard of. Anybody listening to this or watching this understands that I have friends right now that make over $350,000 to $400,000 a year in manufacturing technical sales. So they're selling plastics, machine shops, robotics, things like that, or capital equipment to where they're only making 0.75% based on the revenue that they generate. But when they generate 40, 50, 80 million dollars a year in capital equipment, they make a significant commission. Their base salaries are around the 120 to 140. Then you've got the commission side that's there to entice you to do more. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to what are you trying to do? Hopefully, you're trying to crush it and make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. But if you're like, hey man, I just want to make 160, 180,000, I would say number one, change your goal, because $180,000 a year does not get you much, especially when you're talking about raising a family, especially when you're talking about living in popular cities like Austin or other major areas that are seeing significant growth and the cost of living going up. Do not look at it, because $180,000 today is going to be a lot different than in 10 years. In 10 years, that's definitely not going to get you anything, because everything is getting more expensive. So I would say number one, increase your goal. If you're not looking to try and make $200,000-$300,000 a year, then, or at least that's not a relative goal of yours, then I would say that you're probably in the wrong profession, because there are people out there that say, I want to make $300,000 a year, so I'm going to go into sales and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get that. And the technical sales route is that for you, regardless of your industry, industrial, manufacturing, SaaS. If you're a software sales engineer, you can make it with the right vehicle or company that can get you there, as long as you have the base salary covers your necessities with a little bit of room for growth, because it's not going to change much once you get hired. And then the commission has to be there to really carry you over the edge into hitting your goal. That's my answer. I got the thumbs up from Laura, so that means it's good. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back to answer any live questions that you guys have. So if you haven't put them in there, put them in the comment section below, and we will be right back.
Motan's job is to deliver resin ready to mold or to extrude at the processing machine. That includes pneumatic conveying, the storage vessel, whether that's a silo, surge bin, bag, a drying system so that we properly dry the material so that it's ready for processing, into blending equipment if you want to add color or blend regrind to virgin. Motan equipment takes the resin from the back door of the plant and drops it when it's needed in the right condition at the throat of the machine. Our clients can range from small companies with 1 or 2 processing machines, molding machines or extruders, all the way up to huge multinational, multi-facility companies with literally thousands of molding machines. As opposed to the size of customer, it's the type of company that we like to work with. We like to work with customers that are future focused, that want to work hand in hand to solve challenges and improve their business. Each design for each customer is done exclusively for the needs of that customer and the unique processing challenges. I believe that we have the highest level of customer loyalty in the industry. 70% or more of our business every year is from repeat customers, customers that have done business with us in the past, that have our solutions installed and have been successful with that equipment. I would challenge anybody out there that hasn't worked with us in the past to put us to the test. Let us have a chance to come and consult you on your challenges.
And we are back. That was a short break from one of our clients, Motan. Any plastics people out there looking for a material handling company, check out Motan. They are better than Conair and everybody else. I know, because I'm not just a spokesperson, but I also was a customer of theirs like 10 years ago. So that was fun. Any comments, Laura, from the live?
Sure do.
We got comments. Let's hear it.
Cynthia says, how many posts do you recommend for outlets like LinkedIn? Also, is Twitter really at all valuable for manufacturing, plastics industry, promotion of services? My employer doesn't think so. I'm on the fence. By how many posts, I mean per day on LinkedIn. Thanks.
Oh, I like that ending part, adding a little emoji, like thanks, like that's exactly how she meant it. All right, Cynthia. So how many posts per day on LinkedIn, and should you use Twitter? Your employer doesn't think so. Your employer is right. Twitter sucks. There's nothing good about Twitter unless you want to complain about a company, as Laura said last week in an internal discussion. If you want to get attention from a brand, tweet about it, and their PR and media team will take it over. But Twitter sucks. There's no engagement on Twitter, or retweets, or whatever they do. Now, if Elon Musk does something with it, makes it better, and somehow makes it beneficial, possibly. But I would say your employer's right. Twitter, there's no point in it. You just have to look at it from an engagement standpoint. If you post something on Twitter, we've had clients that have 50 to 100,000 followers on Twitter and they're tweeting every single day. And we look at the engagement, and there is zero. Nobody's liking it. or retweeting it or whatever the hell they do these days. Nobody pays attention to Twitter except politicians and celebrities. And I feel like I would get off that platform. So yes, your employer is correct. As far as how many posts per day for LinkedIn, there's a lot of people that think differently, but I feel like one post a day is enough, because strictly from an algorithm standpoint, if you post multiple times per day, let's just look at it like we were just talking about this internally like a week or two ago. So we post every single day. Now, if I only posted one time a week, or if I only did one live a week instead of two, you would get more attention around that one post or that one event than you would if you split it up. That's just natural, because people know like they're going to post again, or I'm going to see it again, or there's going to be another event. I'm not really missing out. So you're taking the attention and dividing it out over multiple posts. So from an algorithm standpoint, though, if you post multiple times a day, so one of our potential customers said, we post 3 times a day on LinkedIn. And I'm like, geez, like that's just too much, unless it's necessary because you're such a big brand, which they were an $8 billion a year company. They needed to post multiple times per day because they have different departments and functions, because they were a global company. So they had to post one about an industry, one about PR and things like that. So that's the only time that I would ever say multiple posts a day is if you are a massive company and you have many different buckets of things to post about. But from an algorithm standpoint, if you post multiple times, they're going to share out to the followers, to your connections, whether you're posting personally or through the company page, and they're going to gauge that attention and the engagement that you get to then determine how many more people are they going to send it to. A lot of times people think, I have 1,000 followers on my company page, I do a post, all 1,000 people get notified. That is not how it works. You do a post, LinkedIn takes a portion, same thing on Facebook, same thing on Instagram. They take a portion of your followers or connections, they share it with them. Then they look at the engagement. If there's engagement immediately and it's within their threshold, then they will send it to more people. So then let's say it's 100 to start with, or 200 people to start with. You get good engagement, maybe then they notify 200 people more or put it within their feed. And then you get a lot of great engagement, then eventually maybe you get closer to the total amount of people that are following you or connected with you. But for the most part, you get a little bit of engagement, then they share it with more people. And if at that time you've then posted another thing, that just starts things back over. Now that post has to get shared. It's going to go to a different group of people, look at that engagement. And so if you're doing that 2-3 times a day, I feel like that's just overwhelming the system. I would say one post a day. You can test it out, do 2 posts for a few weeks, different things, and see how it works. But then go back to one post and see how that works, and check out your engagement, page views, clicks to your site, and look at it from that standpoint. But I would say one post a day is plenty, because there are tons of people out there that say, do not even post every single day on LinkedIn, only post twice a week, 3 times a week. I 100% disagree with that. There is so much attention and noise out there. It's pulling your prospect or your potential customer's attention away from LinkedIn. So you need to be there every single day at different times throughout the day to post something to stay relevant and stay in the top of their feed.
Yeah, Cynthia said, I am also curious about how you would advise a small but innovative family-owned company to compete marketing-wise against a much larger, deep-pocketed competitor.
Oh, that is a good question, and we have not talked about that in a while. So regardless of how deep the pockets are, the only way to compete is do things that they won't. So since you're a small, family-owned, innovative company, you should, and this is where a lot of times people don't, you should be able to move very quickly. If you have a meeting and say, how many times should we post a day on LinkedIn? And we say, we're going to do it 3 times. Okay, that's starting tomorrow or today. That's not going to different departments for approval and then letting somebody know, and then, all right, in 3 weeks, we're going to start that. You should be nimble and quick to any change, whether it's a positive change to do something more or a negative change to do something less. You should be quick. Speed is your main resource, and speed is the enemy of the global people with deep pockets. Now, they may have resources to outsource all that stuff, but they don't have the speed to react and to try new things, because it goes through so many layers of communication and approval. So I would say, number 1, use speed to your advantage, adapt quickly. Number 2, do things that they won't do. And by what I mean by that is, most of these global companies, they may be doing content and video and posting things on social, but it's like few and far between and not very regular. So you need to be creating content every single day, posting that content every single day in order to stand out. Now, from an operations standpoint, I don't know what your value proposition is. Hopefully you guys are innovative, like you said. Hopefully you guys can compete from a pricing standpoint, from a delivery standpoint, things like that. If that just goes without saying, then it has to be around customer service, delivery, interactions. There has to be some offering that makes you guys better. But if you want to get more attention, don't look at their vanity numbers. If they've got 200,000 followers on LinkedIn and you've got 200, look at the engagement per post, because a lot of these big global companies, they have 200,000 followers, but half the time, 50,000 of them, 75,000 of them are just BS people that are following the company because they're a huge company. They're not actually focusing on the brand and actually going to engage in it. There's tons of data out there to support that if I have 100 loyal customers or loyal fans, they're going to do more for me than a million. But I would focus around being nimble, creating as much content as possible, and posting it regularly. That's shit.
Last question for now, unless someone else submits something. Is LinkedIn Sales Navigator worth it? I've seen many resources about how to use it, almost too many to choose one. Can you recommend one?
You've seen too many resources on how to, yeah. So if you want to know how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, go to my video on how I show building a prospect list, because that tells you exactly how to use it. Is it beneficial? Absolutely it is. Now the key with it is that you can then, with Sales Navigator, do things more on the, I can't really say it, but more on the like the automated scale type of stuff. Wink, wink. You need Sales Navigator to do that. You should build out your prospect list using Sales Navigator. They've taken all the filters and the tools to be able to get down to the nitty gritty strategic accounts you want to go after out of LinkedIn and moved it to Sales Navigator. At the end of the day, it's $79. And instead of looking at it like, is this worth it, $79? Think about it from the standpoint, if I don't have it, how much am I leaving on the table and losing in potential opportunities? $79 is not a lot of money. Either you pay for it yourself or ask your employer if you can expense it. You need to get Sales Navigator. You need to build out a prospect list. You need to connect with those people. It's all in a video that we did. It was probably 38 minutes long, 40-minute long video on my YouTube channel, how to use Sales Navigator. I think that was the topic. How to use Sales Navigator in 2022. I walked through exactly how to do it, building prospect lists, and what to do from there. That's what you should be doing. And then if you want to tie in a third-party system to it, then you can do it, but you have to have Sales Navigator first. So if you're looking at the third-party way, if you know what I mean, then you need to have Sales Navigator. If you're not looking down that path of third-party assistance, then get it, because you're going to use it a lot more than you think that you will. And that is it. Laura's hands are up, so that means it is time to wrap it up. Guys, Wednesday's show is, go to the events section of my profile and look at Wednesday's show. Wednesday's show is going to be how to build trust in sales, which is so important to do anything when it comes to sales, because you can't close deals without trust. And we're going to go through some tips for everybody, all you technical sales people out there, of exactly how to do it. And maybe we'll go into a little rant, and maybe we'll answer some interesting questions on that. So it's Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. Go to my profile, click that you want to attend that to be notified. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, check out our over 250 videos and the podcast, and connect with me on LinkedIn and all of the other stuff. Are you ready, Laura? And we will see you on the next one.